Hi everybody and welcome to another Scratch program tutorial. My name is Russell and today we're going to make a video game. So this is called a flying cat game. It's kind of based on Flappy Bird, the video game, if you've ever played that. It's pretty simple. So we're going to have three sprites. We're going to have the cat, we're going to have the bars here, and we're going to have the ground. And we are going to make the cat fly through the bars. Okay, so we'll take a test run first, show you the end product, and then we'll get to work on it. All right, so I'm gonna hit the green arrow, and what happens is that these bars move across the screen, and now every time I hit the space bar, the cat will jump up. If I do nothing, the cat falls. All right, if he hits the ground or the bar, it stops the game, and you can display a message that says game over. So it's a pretty simple game. I kept it up for 14 seconds. What you can do is have all the kids create one and then see who gets the highest score, see who gets the longest time in the program. It makes it pretty fun. So let's take a peek inside and then we'll get started. So inside the program is this. We're going to do cleanup here. All right, so we have our first sprite, our cat flying, and we have all this code for him. We have our second sprite, we have the ground, clean up, move it over. Pretty short code, and we have our other sprite, the wall, or the pipes. In Flappy Bird or in Mario it's pipes. So we have two big scripts for him. And I also did a backdrop to make it look like the sun and the clouds. So those are the scripts, those are the sprites, and we will get started. So let's start a new project. We're going to go to File, New. Okay, and we have our new program page. So what we're going to do first is delete this cat because we want the flying one. So we're going to right click and hit delete. Or you could also do up here, you click the delete and click the cat, that'll delete them. I try to encourage the students to right click though instead of using these icons. Although I will say Scratch is sometimes a little glitchy and you can't right click, it'll get stuck. So if I have a class with 12 students, sometimes 3 out of the 12 can't right click for some reason. It's been disabled or it's not compatible with the browser. Sometimes I have to open up Scratch in Chrome or Firefox or Internet Explorer, and in one of those sometimes the right click doesn't work. So moving on, we're going to get our new sprite. So down here in our sprites menu, we're going to select choose sprite from library. Now this is one where when you open this up, the students are going to want to check out all the sprites, and that while it's really entertaining and interesting to them, we want to try to just get to the one we need to go to because you can waste a lot of time on this. So what we're going to do is we're going to move up. We're going to find cat flying, all right? And he's not under F for flying, he's under cat for cat flying, okay? And you can see he has two costumes, that's what we're going to use. So we're going to click OK, and that's going to put him right on the screen here. And we'll drag him right about here. That looks good. So now we'll start coding him first. So what we're going to do, we're going to use an event for the cat. So in our blocks palette, we're going to go to events, and when the green flag is clicked. So an event, the brown event blocks in Scratch, they start the scripts. They tell the sprite to do something. They tell the code to actually do something. So these are really important. They're almost like the start button if it were a real video game. All right, so now what I want is every time this program starts, I want him to start in a regular location. Like if this were Mario, Mario would start at the very beginning over here. So where I want him to be is right about where he is. So about the x-coordinate -100 and the y-coordinate 0. So I want him to be right about there. So what I'm going to do is go to motion blocks, and go to this one right here. Go to x, y coordinates. And he looks okay right here, but I'm going to change him, make it a little bit more specific. I'm going to type in -100 and 0. And I'm going to hit the green flag, and then I'll put him right there. That's where I want him. So now I'm going to change his size. So let's go to look. Sometimes when you import a sprite, they'll be really big or they'll be really small. You can change their size by using this. So in the looks block, there's set size to, and this one I'm going to click it, drag it up here, and put it at 50%. And green flag. Okay, it looks great. That looks pretty good. Now you can also do, where the delete is up here, you can also do grow or shrink. So I could have made them bigger or made them smaller using these, but I try to avoid doing that because I like to show it in the code so I know what's going on. And I think that is a good way to teach the students how to code. All right, so now what I want to make them do is fall. So to do that, I'm going to need a loop, because we can make him move down, but we want to make him move down forever. We want him to constantly be falling, have gravity coming at him. So what we need is a loop. We need to tell the program to do something forever. So we're going to go to control, and we're going to find the forever block. Now the forever block is a simple loop. It tells whatever's inside of it to happen forever, unless otherwise noted. So forever, and we're going to go to motion, and we're going to go change y by 10, this block right here. And if we do change y by 10, what that means, it's going to move him up, because we're using XY axis here. So what we want to do is move him down. So we're going to type in -5. So now let's test out our code. So this is a good opportunity. I always have the students test out the code as they're going along. So we'll hit the green flag. There we go. Works like a charm. He starts, and we'll stop it, and we'll start it again. Everything we want to do is happening. Every time we hit the green flag, he's going to this area, his size is at 50%, and he's falling every time. Everything we've coded works perfectly. Excellent. So now we're going to move on. We are going to make him fly. So what we're going to do is go back to the events. So the green flag is a start button, but you don't want to have to keep clicking start button if you want to make them fly. You want it to have a control, kind of like a video game. So what we're going to use is when the space bar is pressed. So now this tells the program that when the space bar is pressed, something is going to happen. What we want is to go back. We want to make them fly, and to do that, we're going to simulate jumping. So we're going to go back to motion, and we're going to do change y by, so our change y by block again. We're going to do change y by 50. All right, so now we'll restart it. There we go. Now every time I hit the space bar, he jumps up, and he's constantly falling back down. And to get through the bars, I'd have to time it. Maybe the bar's low, I have to let him fall, and then kind of jump, and he'll hit the ground, and it's over. Now the thing is, it's kind of boring. He's not doing anything. So we want to make him change costumes. So now what we're going to do is go to looks. We're going to do switch costume to cat flying bee. Now, if I hit the space bar, he does that. But when he falls, he doesn't change back. So what we need to do to simulate motion is to make him wait a second and then change back into another costume. So we're going to go back to control. We're going to use the wait 1 second block. And now here's where we can do it. Now if you hit it, he's not going to do anything. He's just going to jump up a little bit, and he never changes because he's waiting 1 second between jumps. So we're going to change that to 0.1 second. Now, if we try the program, he jumps back up. So what we're going to do now is go back to looks, select another switch costume to flying cat. So switch costume to flying cat A, we're going to switch it to flying cat A instead of flying cat B. And now he'll rest in flying cat A, so he looks like he's falling. And then every time we jump, he does that little twist up, and he looks like he's jumping. All right. So now, here's an interesting thing. If we wanted to make him move back and forwards, we could do this. Let's try it. So let's go to events, and what we're going to do is select 2 of these. When the space arrow is pressed, when the space arrow is pressed. And we're going to change it to, we're going to click the space arrow where it says space, and we're going to go right arrow, left arrow. Now, we're going to go back to motion. So you don't actually have to do this. It's not important to the program if you just want your cat to just stay in one position. But if you want to show the students, or you want to do this just to have fun, I recommend it. So what I did was went to motion and then change X by. Instead of change Y, we're going to do change X by. So hit the right arrow, change X by 10. That means we're going to move him to the right. Hit the left arrow, change X by -10. We're going to type in -10. All right. Now we'll restart the program. Now if I hit right and left, in conjunction with hitting the spacebar, it'll move them across the screen. So that's how we tell the game what to do. That's how you assign values to different buttons. So if you're hitting right and left in a game and your character moves right and left, you have to tell it that. It won't just do it automatically. So that's a concept I reinforce. All right, so now there's one final thing to do with this sprite, and that is create a variable. We want the time. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to events, and we're going to do when the green flag is clicked. So that's the start button. So time, when you create variables like time, that's not a sprite in itself. That has to be attached to a sprite or to all the sprites. So here's what we're going to do. So we clicked when the green flag is clicked. We've got that in there. All right, now we're going to go over here to data. This is where we create variables like time, score, anything like that. So we're going to do make a variable. We're going to type in time. And we can do it for all sprites, that's fine. All right, so we're going to click OK. Now we have our time right here. So now we have set time to 0. So when the green flag is clicked, so when the program starts, it's going to set this time to 0. Now what we want is time to increase. Just like he decreases in this forever loop right here, just like he's decreasing by 5 and constantly falling, we want time to be going up. So what we need is another loop. So we're going to do forever. And we want it to count by seconds, but the computer doesn't know how long a second is. So we're going to use wait by second. So we're ascribing this wait by 1 second to the variable. So we're giving time to the variable here. And what we're going to do, so that was in the control, we did forever, wait 1 second. We're going to go back to data, and we're going to do this, change time by 1. So now it's linking up time moving up by 1 to 1 second. So now if we hit the green flag and we go up, every 1 second that time is going to go up. And believe it or not, that sprite with those scripts, that is actually the easy part. When I did this program, I thought that was the hard part, and the two next parts that follow were the easy parts. But I always have the most trouble with students using the paint interface in Scratch. So believe it or not, the next two sprites are actually the harder ones to do. So let's start with the ground. So down here in our sprite menu, we're going to select this second icon, Paint New Sprite. And we're going to create the ground. So the ground, what we're going to do is we are going to do a rectangle. So we're going to select rectangle. Now, here's one trick. Sometimes when you open up Scratch, some computers will be zoomed in here and some will be zoomed out. So what we're going to do, and even on your own page, sometimes you have to zoom out on your page to make it a little bit smaller. But we're going to leave it at 100. And the reason I say that is because sometimes the rectangle will be too short because the page is zoomed in. And again, when you're in class and you're teaching 12 students, sometimes one or two just randomly Scratch will act differently. They've done nothing different than their cohorts next to them or their colleagues, but for some reason it'll act differently. So it's a little quirky. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to click green or whatever color they want the ground to be. In this I recommend green. And we're going to click into the menu here and we're just going to put a green block on the bottom, green rectangle on the bottom. And again, this is actually pretty challenging, believe it or not. It's not the easiest thing in the world. So now let's hit the green flag. Okay, so it doesn't do anything yet. All right, now I clicked over to the sprite and then clicked back, and now you can see where the green bar is. It puts it right up there where it doesn't need to be. It needs to be on the bottom. So you can click it and drag it and move it on the bottom. And that would be okay. And again, this is a little bit tricky for them to do. Okay, and let's add a script to this. Okay, so now we have our costume for the ground. We're ready. Let's do a script. All right, so first script for the sprite, we'll make sure we're clicked on the sprite, is when the green flag is clicked, so when the program starts. This is what I recommend. You don't have to do this, but I recommend it. Go to here. Go to this block. I recommend it because sometimes it'll move around. So we want to make sure it's always in the same spot. Okay. So now what we want the cat that if he hits the ground to stop the program. So what we need to do is create a loop and have that loop sense when the cat hits it. So we're going to go back to forever. A lot of forever loops in this program. So we're going to go to forever, and then we're going to do something different. It's called an if-then statement. So what it says is, if the cat touches the bar, then stop the program. That's what we want it to do. So we're going to drag if then, not if then else, but if then here, put it inside, and we're going to go to the sensing block. So in the sensing block, we're going to do touching mouse pointer. So we have our touching block, our sensing block, and we're going to click if this bar, if this sprite, our ground, is touching the flying cat, then what we want to do is stop all the programs. So then we're going to go to control, and we're going to do stop all. So that ends the program. Now you can do something like you can display a message like, oh, try again, reset, or something like that. But for this, we're going to keep it simple and just have it. So again, this is not actually in the cat. So you'd think if the cat touches this bar, then it'll stop the program. But the code is in the ground here. The code is for the sprite on the ground, that if the cat touches it, then it'll stop the program. Okay, now we need one more sprite for this program. And again, this is probably, so if this was complicated for the students, then the next one's really complicated. So we're going to do paint new sprite. It's not too complicated. I don't recommend doing the program. It's just a couple times I've done this program, this always seems to trip people up. Okay, so we're going to draw our rectangle. So we've selected rectangle here, and we'll do this block, which makes it full color. And we can drag this, make it a little bit bigger. So now we want a big chunk out of the middle. So what we're going to do is click this, select a block. And we're going to select a block that's just big enough for the cat to fly through. And then you can go ahead and hit delete on your keyboard. If you hit clear, it'll clear the entire sprite. You can hit delete on your keyboard, or you can right click it and delete. All right, so there we go. We have our sprite number 2. This is our pipe or our block that he's going to fly through. So now this is it's time to code him. So here's what we're going to do. We're actually going to do the same code. We're going to start with the same code that we have for the sprite. There's no reason to duplicate. There's no reason to redo it. So what we're going to do is right click back in sprite 1 with the ground. We're going to hit duplicate, and we're going to drag it over here. It'll automatically follow your pointer, and just click it on the new sprite. The only thing we need to do with this one is take out the go to -1, -1. So we're going to disconnect. This is how you do it in Scratch. You're just going to disconnect it from the bottom. So we're going to click forever, disconnect, take this one, and put it back in the palettes area. And then we're just going to reconnect it forever to when clicked. So this just tells it whenever your cat touches the bar, stop the game as well. So we didn't need to reinvent the wheel. We could just copy and paste that code from the one we already did. Okay, so now here's the tricky part. We need to make the pipe go across the screen and to show up randomly. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do another event. We're going to go when the green flag is clicked. We're going to go to motion, and we're going to go to, so what we want, we're going to do go to number 200. Okay, so that's going to put it at this area right here, right in this area. And for Y, we want it to be random. That's what makes the game fun, is randomness. So we're going to do operators, pick random. So the operators block, pick random. It's going to say 1 to 10. What we want is -75 to 75. So that puts it anywhere in this range going up and down here. So it'll make it so the opening is in different spots as you play the game. All right, so now these two, when it starts, go here, somewhere here in this area. But that's it. That's all it's going to do. It's not going to go anywhere. So if we start the program, that's all it does. It just stays right there. Doesn't do anything. Nothing fancy. Now what we need is to make it move across the screen. So we're going to need a loop because we want to continually move across the screen. So we're going to need another loop. Every sprite in here has loops. So our old friend forever. And what we want is to make it move across the screen just like the cat. So we're going to do that same block, the change x by, and we're going to use a number to make it move across the screen. So let's go to motion, change x by inside forever. We're going to do -4. All right, now we can test our program if you'd like. Here we go. All right, so there we go. It's moving across the screen, and it stops right there because we haven't told it to come back or anything. Okay, just a few more steps and our program is almost completed. Here we go. What we're going to do now, we want the bar to come back. So we're going to do another if-then block. Just like if the cat is touching the bar, then stop all the programs. We want if the bar is over here, then come back. So we're going to go find if-then again, put it in forever, and we are going to do another operators block. So we're going to go find the less than. So if, now we're in this sprite's script, we're in the sprite's code here, so we're going to use this block. So if this sprite's, we're going to go to motion, if this sprite's x position, so x position, so over here, if its x position is less than -220, what we want to do is we want to go back to this one again. So right here, we can hit duplicate. So you can go back and actually click recreate this block and put it in here, or you can just duplicate this whole thing and detach this one. This is the easier way to do it. It's only a few clicks. So if this block's x position is less than -220, then go to x 200 and then pick a random number. So let's try it again, and this should be our complete program here. There we go. It goes off the screen, and I have the cat. And now I can move the cat forward because we worked on that little script before. Oh, I can move him back. Oh, I hit the block. Now it's done. So 12 seconds. I got 12 seconds. So let's go look. That's our program. It looks pretty good. And we can do one final thing. We can design a background if you like. So on the backdrop here, we can just design one. I'll just grab one randomly. I'll do this one, blue sky. You can create your own. In the picture that I showed you before, I created my own, but we can just do blue sky. There, that looks perfect. It looks like a full-on video game now. Let's click this button, green flag, let's try it. Looks pretty good. That is it. That is the whole game. Thank you for joining me.